Guy Ritchie's latest movie, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, is based on a true story, which basically means that most of the shit in this movie never happened. Okay, look, I don't know what the fictitious to accurate ratio of this movie is, but judging by the trailer, I would venture to guess that it's closer to 80-20 than 50-50. But maybe I'm still being too generous. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare reminds me of one of those old men on a mission movies like The Dirty Dozen or Kelly's Heroes, The Guns of Navarone, where it's set in World War II, but it's purely about entertainment value and not about realism. This movie is loosely based on the covert World War II mission codenamed Operation Postmaster, and it's a little yarn following a group of ne'er-do-well commandos led by Gus March Phillips, played by Henry Cavill. And they're on a mission to destroy an Italian warship that's harbored on the African island of Fernando Po, and this ship resupplies the German U-boats that have been sinking supply ships that the British have been getting through the Lend-Lease program from the United States. And this is before the Americans formally joined the war, and Great Britain is hanging on by a thread. With England standing alone in World War II and Prime Minister Winston Churchill under pressure from his own government to surrender to Hitler, crippling the supplies to the German U-boat fleet is critical for the Brits to fight another day. But technically, this mission is unsanctioned, so Gus and company have to avoid being caught not only by the Germans, but also by the British, who will arrest them and put them under court-martial if they're caught. On the whole, I'm kind of mixed about this movie. I really like Guy Ritchie as a filmmaker, and he does a decent job of directing here, but I would not say that this movie is one of his best. I think it's more mid-tier Guy Ritchie. Henry Cavill, of course, is the star of this movie, and I like that he gets more of a chance to emote here than in a lot of the roles that I've seen him in. Often Henry Cavill plays very stoic roles, but here he really kind of gets to cut loose, and you know this if you've seen the trailer.
It's very good.
But as with a lot of Guy Ritchie's movies, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare has what you could call an ensemble cast, and Guy Ritchie does a decent job of balancing all the players in the ensemble here. One criticism I have of the movie is that I wish the plot were a little bit more involved. Guy Ritchie, when he's at his very best with movies like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, or one of his more recent films that I love, The Gentleman, those movies deliver some really surprising turns with their plots, and Ungentlemanly Warfare doesn't really have that. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is a much more straightforward affair than those movies, which is understandable because this is first and foremost an action film. But honestly, the action involving the men on the mission was not my favorite part of the movie. Another part of this ensemble consists of Blabs Olusan Moken, I'm sorry if I butchered that name. He plays the owner of this bar and casino on Fernando Po, and it also consists of Eliza Gonzalez, who plays this beautiful covert agent who, as part of the operation, is assigned to seduce the Nazi commandant in charge of the shipyard on the island, and he's played by Till Schweiger. This part of the movie is a lot more cloak and dagger, which I really liked, and honestly, I kind of wish there was more of it. Whereas that half of the movie feels a lot more like an espionage flick, the half that follows Henry Cavill, Alan Richston, Henry Golding, and their cohorts feels a lot more action oriented. That's not to say that I don't love action, and the action here is over the top and well done, but the characters in this half of the ensemble don't experience many close calls. In fact, my biggest criticism of this movie is that I wish it put the characters into more danger than it does. One thing that stood out in this movie to me is that so much of the gunfire is silenced. And of course, it's the movie version of a silenced gun. You know, the pew. It's not the realistic sound effect of a gun with a suppressor on it. As you can see from the decor behind me, I am a massive James Bond fan, and I was not expecting this going into it, but James Bond creator Ian Fleming is a minor character in this film. Fleming worked in British naval intelligence when he was a young man, well before he was an author and created James Bond. And here he's played by British actor Freddie Fox. And yes, when he introduces himself as Fleming. Ian Fleming. If you're a fan of Guy Ritchie and you're hoping that Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare will be the best film of his career, then I think you'll be disappointed. But if you're a fan of Men on a Mission movies or just over-the-top macho action films, then I think you'll dig this. So that about wraps it up. Chat it up in the comments down below and leave a like and subscribe if you dig what you've seen today. I'm Grega, and you all look after yourselves. Cheers.